Hey everybody, Nathan Fukes here. Welcome to my portrait drawing 9-week class. So this is the moment. This is where we finally get good at this. Get good at the difficult challenge of drawing portraits in the beautiful and the frustrating medium of charcoal. So what we're going to primarily do is we're going to break down the complexities of the head for you and the likeness so that you can learn the approaches and the techniques that'll allow you to create drawings that have believability but also have a beautiful artistry. We are going to get good at this. Doggone it. So let me tell you about this class. I have taught portrait drawing at art schools in Los Angeles for many, many years. I've also taught at Disney Studios, for instance, among others. And so this is the very first online course that I created so that I can bring you the same content that I brought to them. And so I'm going to join in the course right now for you as it was originally created. But at the same time, I have some new material for you. I have some updates that I'll throw in as we go and some new bonus content. So let's do it. Let's dive in to lesson 1. So first off, what I'd like to do is share a couple of thoughts with you that will set the tone for the class. And then I'll spend some time with you going over how we're going to spend our 9 weeks together. What will be expected from you, what you can expect from this class, and the outcome that we will ultimately have. So let's dive right in. Many years ago, when I was in art school, I got a phone call that carried an interesting challenge with it. I got a phone call asking me if I was interested in teaching an art class at one of the local Los Angeles high schools. Now there was a catch. The catch was that this particular class was for what they called, quote-unquote, at-risk students. These were students who had had 2 strikes, 1 more, and they were gone. They were serious behavioral cases. And one idea that had been thrown around was that if they brought in an outsider for an art class, that might be something that would be interesting to these particular students, something that might engage them in their high school experience. Well, I hesitated. I was in the middle of art school myself. I wasn't sure I had all the answers, and as busy as you might imagine that I was. But at the same time, it was an opportunity and a challenge that I decided to take on. So I showed up, and here's one of the first things that I did. I got down off of the shelf a bookend. This is it right here, this drawing. It was a bookend up there, a weight to hold the books in place on the bookshelf. And I got it down, it looked like an interesting object, put it on the table, put it under lights, and I did a little demonstration for them. And this is the end result of that demonstration. But I didn't jump right to it. What I tried to do was to show them a process. I started with this idea. I showed them that if they were to do nothing more than a simple drawing, a drawing that in fact at that very moment, and I told them this way, I said, all of you are perfectly capable right now of drawing this, every single one of you. And you're perfectly capable of adding simple shadows onto a simple object. And so you're perfectly capable of taking this drawing and adding some clear shadows to it. And you're perfectly capable of taking that and adding some of the organic, more naturalistic shapes that you can see onto that. And then you're perfectly capable of going a step further and adding some highlights into the image where you see them. And then to bring a little bit of finesse and a little bit of outline to it. Well, when I had first walked into the class, before the demonstration, you can imagine the initial response and stance that I got from most of the students. Arms folded, slumped in their chairs, conveying an attitude that said, there is nothing that you can tell me that I am going to care about. And I can't tell you how much fun it was for me to watch them start to crack. Because everyone loves the idea of being able to draw, being able to look at something that's special and interesting and fascinating, that you're engaged by, and to be so interested in it that you want to grab it, hold on to it, and make it last forever through drawing. Most of us feel that way. These high school students, as most high school students do, felt that way. And so we actually were able, it wasn't perfect, wasn't a perfect situation. There was even one particular student who didn't make the cut, and because of specific behavioral issues had to throw him right out of the class, and that's just the reality of it. But we ended up overall finding some real success in that class. I really hope that it made a little bit of a mark and did what it was meant to do for these particular students who had such difficult circumstances. I hope they came away with the understanding that if art was something they wanted to pursue, if they were willing to learn how to break down the simple statement of their subject, that was actually something that would be manageable and doable for them. So I don't know about you. I don't know if you were an at-risk student in high school. If you were, congratulations to you for making it this far. But here's the thing I absolutely do know about you. I know that you're determined. You're here with us in this class after all. And so I'm here to tell you that if you have any concerns, if you have any doubts, forget about it. Don't worry about if you were born with talent or not. Frankly, it's too late. You have already been born. You are what you are at this moment, and there's nothing you can do retrospectively to change it. But starting now, if you can learn how to break down the complexities of your subject into something that is manageable and doable for you, you, me, at-risk high school students, anyone with the determination to carry through, will be able to find some success in this. So here's how we're going to do it. In this class, I'm going to take you through a whole process, and I'll show you one example here. For instance, with this model, we start out with the simplest statement possible, the simple shape of the head. And don't worry if I zoom right through this. What I'm doing now is giving you an overview of how we're going to spend our 9 weeks together and some of the topics we're going to cover. So if I zoom through this little demo with you, rest assured we're going to come back and look at it in detail at a later date. Okay, but I'll show you over the course of the class to find the big simple shape of the head and the simplest way the features fall on that head. A simple building up of construction, and then bringing into that construction drawing the simple values of light and shadow, and then bringing in a little variation into that, bringing a little bit of blending and edge control into that, bringing a little bit of detail work, just with an eraser, for instance, in this drawing, bringing a little detail and a bit of clean edges in with your eraser, some fine tuning, some pushing and pulling, and hey, we've got a portrait. I'm going to take a careful look with you at the values of light and shadow, how light and shadow works, and how you can use your medium to convey the nuances and the character of your subject. We'll take a look at people in history who knew what they were doing, people who could construct a head elegantly and with artistry to the point where they were considered to be and are considered to be old masters. We'll make a serious study of breaking down what it is that makes their artwork so successful. And I'll go ahead and show you some of my approaches, some of my thoughts about the approach, the techniques, and using the medium. I can just scroll through here if you'd like and show a little bit of a gallery of some of the charcoal drawings that I've come up with over the last several years. So I'll just roll through these here for you and let you take a look so that you can get a little bit more familiar with my work. And so over the class, as you see here, you see many different papers and some different approaches and techniques and materials. And we'll cover some of those ideas. On your materials list, I've laid down very specific materials that I want you to start out with. Now, absolutely, as you move forward and move on from this class, you're expected to find your own direction, your own technique. There's nothing wrong with you copying an approach or a technique that I use that you like or might be helpful, but you'll evolve your own, and so it's expected that you use and then possibly even move away from what I'm starting with here. But you'll find those things on your materials list, and for this class we're going to primarily stick to those materials. And we'll take a look at some different papers. Tone papers, charcoal paper, smoother paper. For your quick studies, you'll primarily be using newsprint as quick study and for general working purposes. But as we get into more finished artwork and things that are a little bit more special, I'll show you some more archival papers that you'll be able to work with. So more on that later. Now let's get to these 4 items that are going to take us in the direction that we need to launch the class in right now up front at the beginning.